Feliz Navidad, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year from Kiss.
Feliz Navidad, Happy New Year, Merry Christmas from Kiss.
Ho, ho, ho! I'm wishing everybody a really Merry Christmas, a Happy New Year.
Someone stole Santa? That does not rock!
What's going on, vinyl community? Welcome to another episode of 25 Days of KISSmas, where every day leading up to KISSmas, I will be reviewing and discussing every Kiss studio album plus more. For the 6th episode, I will be reviewing the Love Gun album from 1977. After coming off of a rather successful Japanese tour in the spring of 77, this is kind of where we entered this Super Kiss era, where the merchandise machine was generating everything that you could possibly think of. They were voted number 1 in the Gallup poll, albums were obtaining platinum status in pre-orders alone. Everything was happening, and the band went back into the studio with Eddie Kramer and basically continued where rock and roll left off with another solid sounding album. So let's dig into the album. Side 1, Track 1, I Stole Your Love. A great bombastic opener from Paul, always opened the stage show at the time with the band descending to the stage from the platforms, very much in the same vein as other tracks such as Come On and Love Me and Makin' Love, and the main riff of the song was actually inspired by Deep Purple's Burn, and I can totally see the comparison there, and it goes without mentioning that Paul once again plays the first half of the guitar solo. Track 2, Christine 16, a Gene composition which was one of the demos that he had cut with Alex and Eddie of Van Halen, a band that Gene had picked up on at the time, and the album version is very much a reflection of the original demo, even down to the guitar solo that Eddie played that Ace basically copied note for note. Gene wanted a Jerry Lee Lewis tinge to this track with a simple, rough-hitting piano triad part, which was met with some criticisms, but it suits the arrangement rather well. This was the first single to be released from the album, and I just have to say, out of all these suggestive Kiss songs out there, the lyrics for this tune did not age well with time. Track 3, Got Love for Sale, another Gene song that stems from a demo that goes as far back as 1975 called Have Love Will Travel, and even that original title is sung within the background vocals of the chorus. While the lyrics in the first verse were retained from the original version, the second verse was lifted from an early version of Man of a Thousand Faces, which Gene would go on to do on his 1978 solo album. Track 4, Shock Me, and finally here we have Ace's lead vocal debut on a song that he wrote himself, and it is very much his signature song to where he would do an extended guitar solo during the live show. This song was inspired by an incident that occurred in Lakeland, Florida during the Rock and Roll Over tour, where at the beginning of a show, Ace had touched an ungrounded metal rail on the staircase on stage, which gave him a powerful enough electric shock to knock him out and delay the show. But while continuing, he had lost all feelings in his hand. He was originally going to give it to Gene to sing, but Gene really pushed Ace to have a crack at it, and the confidence must have really built up for him to do so. But even with persistent apprehension, there's a legend that he recorded the lead vocal while laying down in the studio with the lights turned low. Track 5, Tomorrow and Tonight. This was Paul's attempt to write an anthem similar in the vein of Rock and Roll All Night, but that magic wasn't quite recaptured. And of course, the song was never properly performed live at the time, but was recorded via soundtrack for inclusion on a Live 2. Now we're going to flip the album over to Side 2, Track 6, Love Gun. A Paul composition that was written while on the plane to Japan in the spring of 1977. He says that he regards this song as one of his favorite Kiss songs, and one that he completely wrote, arranged, and produced by himself, so the demo and album versions sound completely identical. It's very much a Kiss staple on all fronts, was released as a single, and has been performed on just about every tour since 1977. Paul took some inspiration for this song from a song called The Hunter, which was recorded by Albert King and covered by Blue Cheer and Free, and even Led Zeppelin nicked some of it for How Many More Times. Track 7, Hooligan, another collab between Peter and Stan Penridge, but this time not germinating from an older song from a pre-Kiss band, so this is the first instance where Peter had purposely brought fresh material to the table. This song can be seen as somewhat autobiographical, since Peter stated that his grandmother called him a hooligan when he was younger with his street upbringing, and just from that comment alone, the song evolved itself. Now, obviously, Peter had sung lead on it, and it did survive once within the Love Gun Tour setlist. Track 8, Almost Human, a Gene song whose title was inspired by a line from the Lon Chaney film West of Zanzibar from 1928. This can be seen as another sort of demon song where the lyrics have a slight horror tinge to them, but arrangement-wise, the bass line is thick, there are some tasteful congas and double-track guitars, harmonies, and the guitar solo is completely off the wall as it pans back and forth through the speakers, and it is certainly one of my personal favorite Kiss songs. Track 9, Plaster Caster, another Gene song that was obviously inspired by Cynthia Plastercaster Albritton, who was notoriously known for making plaster casts of male appendages of people within the industry such as Jimi Hendrix, Wayne Kramer of the MC5, Eric Burdon of the Animals, amongst others. As amusing of a subject matter for Gene to write about, he and Kiss did not get casted to be part of Cynthia's collection. Track 10, Then She Kissed Me. The album wraps up with a cover of the song first made famous by the Crystals, originally titled Then He Kissed Me, but then was regenderized over time with the Beach Boys doing Then I Kissed Her, and then Kiss threw their hat in the ring with Then She Kissed Me. As to why the band specifically covered this song, the band was goofing with the song at a sound check during their European tour in 1976, and their rendition of it must have deemed good enough to record for the album. This song was also released as a single within the UK. As for where this album stands and my Kiss catalog ranking, I would put Love Gun at the number 5 spot. I would say this album is the pinnacle of Kiss's success in the 1970s. For as quick as it was churned out, it's full of classics and favorable deep cuts. Maybe I would rank this album higher if the cover of Then She Kissed Me, which is still a solid rendition, was replaced with an original piece that ended up on side 4 of Alive 2, but still, this is an absolutely solid record, and it's one that has a special place in my heart, since it is indeed the first Kiss studio album that I ever listened to, which kickstarted my immense fandom for this band. And speaking of Alive 2, given that both Love Gun and Alive 2 were released within close proximity of several months, I figured it would feel incomplete for me to bypass the studio tracks that are included on Alive 2, so as a little added bonus, let's focus in on those. Side 4, track 16, All American Man, a Paul and Sean Delaney collaboration which was written before the band's Japanese tour of 1977, and it is one of the tracks that feature the ghost lead guitar work of Bob Kulick, brother of future Kiss member Bruce Kulick. Track 17, Rockin' in the USA, a Gene composition that also includes Bob Kulick on lead guitar and serves as a sort of road diary of the various countries Kiss had performed at, such as France, England, Germany, and Denmark during their first European tour of 1976 and Japan in 1977. But while jet-setting around the world, Gene sings how he can't wait to be rockin' once again in the USA. Track 18, Larger Than Life, another one by Gene, and the title very much sums up Kiss's philosophy. Larger than life, whether it falls to the band's sound or their superhero image. Gene had taken inspiration for this song from some of the percussion-driven material by Led Zeppelin, which perhaps is why the drums on this track are very reminiscent of John Bonham. While the band always points to Rick Derringer for providing the guitar work for this track, this was another case where Bob Kulick supplied the lead guitar work. Track 19, Rocket Ride. This track is a unique Ace and Sean Delaney collaboration that was written during the Japanese tour of 1977. was rejected for use on the Love Gun album and was brought back for the studio side, to which he both sang lead on and provided guitar work as well as bass playing. The title, of course, can allude to the Space Ace persona, but it's also a double entendre in the sexual vein, if you catch the drift. The song was released as the second single from Alive 2, and it was indeed a top 40 hit, which gave Ace a bit of confidence to provide more material to the Kiss table. Track 20, Any Way You Want It. Here we have a cover of the Dave Clark 5 classic. Supposedly, it was going to be either this song or Elvis Presley's Jailhouse Rock to close off the side, but given Elvis's death was around the time frame this was being worked on, it was ditched. Paul definitely took the charge for this rendition since he contributed all the guitar work. So there you guys go. That is the 6th episode of the 25 Days of KISSmas series. Stay tuned tomorrow for the 7th episode, and you can already guess what's coming next. If you enjoyed this video, please go ahead, give it a like, and subscribe to the channel. See you guys in the next video, and most importantly, keep the records spinning.
Treetops glisten and children listen to hear sleigh bells in the snow.